Hey guys, it's Oop244. Today I'm going to be doing another tier list. So you may have seen on my YouTube channel that I was going to start doing some Mario Party tier lists of like the mini games and stuff, and that's exactly what I've decided to do. I'm going to be starting with Mario Party 1. So Mario Party 1 came out for the N64 very early on, and I will admit it's not one of my it's an okay Mario Party, but certainly not one of my ultimate favorites, and a lot of it had to do with controls, and it was just starting out. It was good. It was a good game, but I think the mini games are a little bit all over the place. So down below we have a list of all the mini games in Mario Party 1, and I'm going to rank them with S tier being the absolute best mini games. They stand the test of time. They're really interesting, not too, simple or not too, cliche. A is pretty good. B is all right. I'm fine with it. C is okay, mid-ish. D is below average, and F means that this game is really not good for a variety of reasons. So, let's start with the tier list now. Just to let you know, I don't remember all the names of the games immediately off the top of my head, but I know a good portion of them. So if I don't know the name of a game, I'm just going to describe it like as what the game is, and I'll be describing the game anyway, so it just doesn't really matter, but let's get started. So Mario Party 1, one of the more classic of the games for the N64, but it really was kind of a starting point. It wasn't really a full-fleshed Mario Party game yet. It needed some time to develop, and these mini games kind of show that. So starting with this first game, which I forget what it's called. It's like the Inflate Bowser. You have to press L and R to consistently pump up a balloon of Bowser, and whoever blows up the balloon first wins. I tend to be pretty good at this one. I also enjoy it. It's all about timing on this one. I like the concept of it, of blowing up Bowser. It's really cool. I'm going to put that in A tier. I want to say it's called Bowser's Bigger Blast, but I think that's the one where you press the button and Bowser explodes. I think this is called something different, but I remember this game pretty fondly and it was pretty good. The next one is the one where you have to hit, it's a 1 vs 3 game, and you have to hit Bowser. One of the players is playing as Bowser, and the other 3 have hammers, and you have to hit the Bowser player with a hammer to get coins. Honestly, I will say that the 1 vs 3 and 2 vs 2 games in Mario Party 1 are a bit lacking. This one is no exception. It's really hard to even play as the one player, and games where it's hard to play as one side or another, I tend to put lower down. This one you're basically just running away from people who have hammers, and it's not really that fun. It's obviously a very one-sided game. This one's going to go into D tier. I'm not a fan of this one. All right, Bobsled Run. This one I do know the name of. Bobsled Run is really, really fun. I really enjoy Bobsled Run. It is a little difficult to control, but it is fun. You get to ride in these penguin-shaped toboggans, and it's really, really cool. I'm going to put Bobsled Run in A tier. I think it's a pretty suitable game. It's a nice twist on the cliched racing game. Next one is Bombs Away. Bombs Away is basically there's a Shy Guy pirate shooting bombs at you, and you have to stay afloat on the platform for a certain amount of time. This is platforming at its finest. You have to make sure that you don't fall in the water. If you do, a friendly little blooper comes along and takes you away. Bombs Away is a classic, and this is a really fun Mario Party 1 game, and it kind of lasted in the Mario Party 2, I believe, as well. This one's also going to go into A tier. I think Bombs Away is a pretty good game. The next one is Bomb Skip Ball. That's another one of those 2 vs 2 games. And like I said, the 2 vs 2 games in Mario Party 1 are not very strong. This one is probably one of the weakest, honestly. Basically, 2 players start with a bomb, and you have to get it into the hoop, and 2 players are defending. The controls are a bit weird, and it's not always clear what's going on. Sometimes when you shoot the ball, it doesn't quite, the animation's a bit weird. I really don't like this one, so it's gonna go into D tier. I'm not a fan of Bomb Skip Ball. Alright, moving forward, the next game is a free-for-all game called Box Mountain Mayhem. This is just a typical take a box out of the mountain and get some coins but there are some surprise boxes in there that kind of flip you out. There's not much to this game, with the added thing that it really is difficult to control since it's a bit of it's on an angle, so kind of finding the boxes is a little weird. I'm gonna put this in C tier. There's nothing terribly special about this one. The next one is Bumper Balls. Bumper Balls does have a little bit of strategy to it. It's like a poor man's Bombs Away. You're basically rolling around on balls on a small island. You try to knock the opponents off. It's a good game. I'm not gonna say it's definitely not quite as low as like mid, but it's pretty good. The strategy is to try to hit the side of the ball of the opponent's balls rather than like the middle. And overall, it's just it's a fair game. I like it. I'll put it in B tier. Bumper Balls is really interesting, and I do enjoy it to a certain extent. So I think this next one might just be called Treasure Hunt, but I'm not sure. It's definitely a treasure digging hunting game. This one is a good concept, however, it is a little bit biased because it never appears like directly in the center. Sometimes it can appear like right next to a player, and they can find it in just a couple seconds without any of the clues being given. So it can be a little bit frustrating when that happens, but overall it is the design of the game is pretty good. I don't have any problems with the design of the game. So I think Treasure Hunt, or whatever they call this game, I think it'll also go into B tier. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Alright, so there's a couple of these games coming up. This one is called Coin Block Blitz. It is nothing special. All it is, you hit the blocks, coins come out. That's it. Not really anything special. It's probably going to go into D tier. It's nothing really, interesting. It's not bad by any sense of the word, but it's just uninspiring and a pretty basic jump to get the coins game, and it isn't too exciting. Coin Shower Flower is next. It's an interesting 1 versus 3, where the player on top of the flower gets as many coins as they can, but there's too many coins for that one player to get, so some of them will fall into the river below, and the 3 players have to get it. Overall, this game I think is fine. It's got opportunities for coins on both sides, and I think that it's a nice concept. I'm going to put this one in C. No, I'm going to put it in B tier, I think. It's a nice design. Alright, so the next one, I believe it's called Crazy Cutter, or something like that. It's where you have to use a jackhammer to trace a character from the game, and if you get a high enough percentage, the character will burst out and you win. So there can be multiple winners in this game, which is awesome. This one's an S tier game. I love this one, especially since there are multiple winners possible. The concept is interesting, and just, it's actually really hard to lose. Like, you'd have to be really bad at this one to lose. It's basically free coins, and it's really fun the way to do it. I put that in S tier. So there are 2 deep sea diving games, and I never remember which one's which. I know one of them is a 2 versus 2, and one of them is a free-for-all. This one is the 2 versus 2 one, where you've got someone in a boat, and someone is down below trying to collect the treasure chests. This might be the only 2 versus 2 game I can immediately think of in this game that I actually enjoy. And a lot of people like to go for the center treasure chest at the bottom, but I try to go for the smaller ones first. It's just my, strategy. So, I'm going to put this in A tier. I think this is a pretty good game. I would say it's probably the best 2 versus 2 game in Mario Party. Now, you might see a lot of things going into like A tier right now, but that's going to change as we get along. We haven't really encountered the offenders yet, so. The next one I think is just called Swamp Pull or Desert Race or something like that, where basically it's a 2 versus 2 game where you just alternately press buttons and you gotta watch out for that swamp in the middle. Again, there's nothing terribly special about this one. It's just pressing the button at the right time and getting through the desert. It's a little bit better than Coin Block Blitz, but not by much. I'm gonna put this one in low C tier. Now, here we've got a great one. This is probably my favorite game in all of Mario Party. It's Facelift. And Facelift is fun because it's just like the Mario 64 loading screen, and you have to make the face look almost as close as the middle picture can get. And it's really fun, you know, moving around and making silly faces, and it's really a very specific game too. And there have been a couple times where I've actually gotten the hundreds on this, so it is definitely a game of skill, which I really enjoy. I don't like the luck-based games as much. And Facelift has also been in other Mario Parties too, and even been linked with Bowser games as well. So Facelift, definitely an S tier game, and one of the best in Mario Party history. Excuse me. All right, the next one is Grab Bag, and it's basically the same as the Bowser game I mentioned earlier, where you have to hit the Bowser with a hammer, except this is a 4-player game, and it really does not control well, and it's just a mess, and I do not like it. And for once, I'm actually going to put it in F tier. It really is a annoying game. Everyone could target you. You have to be at precisely the right angle to grab a bag, and even then, like, you might miss it, and it's very slow, and just never really was a fan of this game. Alright, so now we're starting to get into some of the one-player games. These were mini-games that were designed only for one player, so they're a little bit in a different category, so I'm going to rank them slightly differently, but this first one is, I don't remember the name of it, but they're basically butterflies on these stumps. And 5 of the stumps are flat, and you're supposed to ground pound them, and then the other ones have spikes on them, and if you hit it, it's game over. This is just for 10 coins. It's a interesting take on concentration. I think it's a little bit better than some of the basic concentration games, but nothing terribly special. I would put this one in the bottom of B tier. I don't have much to say about it other than it is an interesting take on concentration in general. Alright, the next one is Hammer Throwdown, whatever it's called, where there's a hammer brother throwing coins and hammers down on you. You could fall off the edge if you're not careful, but you could also get a lot of coins in this game. It's okay. I don't really have any particular opinion on this one way or the other. It is an interesting concept, and I think it's a little bit too easy to fall off the edge because you get recoil when you get hit by the hammers. I think this one will probably go into C tier, probably. It's okay. Now, I mentioned earlier I don't like random games, and this next one is as close as random as you're going to get in Mario Party 1. It's Hot Bomb. Basically, you toss up a bomb around, and it just explodes when someone is unfortunate enough to be holding it. There is no strategy, or there's very little strategy in this one, and frankly, it's kind of random. It's a little bit more luck-based than skill-based. This one's going to go into D tier. I am not a fan. This one's actually going to go above the basketball game. Actually, I'll also put it above the Bowser game as well. It's just not much to it. You either win, you lose. Now, this next game makes no sense to me, and I don't even understand why it's in Mario Party 1. It just makes no sense. It's called Keep Away, I think it is. And basically, someone starts with a key. You have to hit them in order to get the key. The person who unlocks the door wins, but I feel like everyone gets coins in this one. I don't know. It just doesn't really make any sense. And games that don't make sense really go in the F tier. I never liked this game anyway. The controls are a bit janky. It just doesn't make any sense. However, the next game, Mario Bandstand, is one of my favorites. I'm a huge music person, as you guys know, and it's just a really clever design of having everyone in a band and having to play notes, and the notes aren't even the same. Like, they're different for each instrument, and whoever does the best gets coins, and if it's tied, you still get coins. I like games where if it's tied, you get coins. So Mario Bandstand will go in S tier. I really like Mario Bandstand. It's one of my favorite minigames in Mario Party 1. Alright, the next one is just plain old concentration. That's all it is, except one of the squares is a Bowser square, but it reveals everything at the beginning, so really, it's a memory game. I think it's even called Memory Game, if I'm correct. It's literally just a memory game. Nothing special about it, and it's gonna go into D tier. There's just nothing really to say about that one. Now, Bowl Over. Bowl Over's an interesting one. I think the downside of this one is that once you throw the shell to try and knock the other player's pins over, you have to control the shell, and I think that's a bit of a downside. It does make the game a little harder, but it's really hard to control, and you can still get coins from hitting any pins, but if you hit the edge, the bumper, then the game's over. So I think this could have a little bit more to it, but it's not quite there. So I think it's a good concept in play. Like, it's a good concept in theory. Bowled Over I'll put into C tier, in between the Thwomp Game and Box Mountain Mayhem. Okay, Hand, Line, and Sinker. This one, you cast a hand to try and get coins. The timing feels really good on this one. It's a little slow, but I think it's good that it's a little bit slower. I think this one is actually a pretty good game. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It is a good way. If you could actually go through this whole thing without getting any coins, but it's very unlikely. I think it's generally fun game. It's a 4-player game, and as long as you're careful and you know what you're doing, Hand, Line, and Sinker is pretty good. I'm gonna put this one in B tier, probably above Coin Shower Flower, and probably above the digging game too, but not quite as high as Bumper Balls. Alright, the next one is essentially Coin Block Blitz, except it's Coin Block Bash, and the only difference is that someone has a hammer. It really doesn't change much from Coin Block Blitz. I guess having the hammer does initiate some strategy, so instead of putting it in D, I'll put it in low C, but really it's not much different than the Coin Block Blitz game. The next one is the bane of my existence. I don't even want to talk about this one. This one's going straight into F tier. The crane, oh, that's not it. That's not the one I want to put in F tier. Where'd it go? Where did it go? I just had it. Oh yeah, this one. Crane game is just absolute trash. It's terrible. If you're the one player, you have to keep pressing A in order not to drop them, and then all you could do is the three players just A and move around. There's nothing you can do in this game, except maybe get a couple coins. It's just not well designed at all. It's just, why would someone make this one? Like, it was really not put together well, and just there's nothing you could really do in the game, and especially with the AI, you never win against the AI, so it's an F tier game for sure. I don't even really want to talk about Crane game. Might be the one game in this whole, like, one mini game in the whole entire Mario Party that I just cannot stand, and I'll just give up before the game even starts. It's terrible. Alright, Potaboo jumping, or hot rope jump, or whatever it's called. This one's tough, and I kind of like how this one's tough. The timing on the jumps is a little bit, specific, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. I feel like the people on the inside have a little bit more of a fair chance than the people on the outside, but that could just be a visual thing, I don't know. I think Hot Rope Jump is a good game. I do like it. It's a little tricky, but it's good, and I think I'm going to put it in B tier. Alright, so this next one's probably my favorite one-player minigame. It's called Ghost Guess. Basically, you're surrounded by boos, and one of the boos is like the leader, and you have to guess which one is the one that's the leader by determining which one moves first. This one's actually probably my favorite one-player minigame. It's a great concept. It's also kind of difficult. It's not easy. This is not an easy one to get coins for free. I think this one goes into A tier. I do like Ghost Guess, and I think it is the best of the one-player minigames in Mario Party 1. So another 2 vs 2 game. Oh boy, I hate these 2 vs 2 games. This one is Minecart, and I think the thing that really kills this game is that you can actually fall off. I hate that. And it's just so hard to control this, and it's very janky, and it is over lava, which... one mistake and you're dead. I tend to not finish this one a lot of the time. It's really a poorly janky designed game. But it does have a little bit of strategy to it. To just slow down when it says slow down, speed up when it says speed up. I can't quite put it in F tier, even though I really want to. I'll put it in D tier. Probably, and And yeah, anything is better than coin block blitz. I don't know why. I'll put it here between the two. You know, honestly, I'm going to rearrange these actually. I think the coin block blitz needs to be further down because it's just really nothing. And then this one should also be a little higher. This one should be a little higher, but I think keep away. Or bomb skip ball is going to stay near the bottom. I really don't like that one. All right, the next one is knockback tower. Knock block tower. This one I suck at personally. It's really hard for me to line up my jump, but it's also pretty simple. There's not much to it. Just don't hit the thwomps. Time your jumps right. It's mid. I don't really have anything else to say about knock block tower, so it'll go into C tier. It's another one of those one-player minigames. All right, so this next one is Limbo. This is a fun one-player minigame, but it is very difficult to get past the red low one. But if you can get past the red bar, you're usually okay. It's funny with all the toads playing the drums and taking place in the jungle. It's a really cool setting. I think this one's B tier. I like this one. It's okay. I'm gonna put it probably here. There you go. All right, now we get into games that almost automatically will go into D or F tier, not because the games are bad, but because these are the games where you have to rotate your control stick. And for those of you who grew up with Nintendo 64 games, these broke your controllers over time, and they have to be put where they deserve to be put because they are just controller breakers. I mean, the games might be fun. I guess if the games are fun, I'll put them in D tier, but they're not going any higher than that, and it's unfortunate. Pedal Power is one of those games where you have to rotate the control stick, and it's just annoying, and it has broken so many controllers of mine over the years. But I do like the concept, and I think it's a neat one-player minigame, but I just cannot put it any higher than D tier because of the controller issues, so that's where it's going to stay. The next one's Running of the Bulb. I find Running of the Bulb to be a little interesting. You have to, I think all four players are working together to bring a bulb from one side to the other. If at least one person gets there, you all win. If nobody gets there, no one wins. So it's an all or nothing game. In a way, it's kind of a way of looking at a four-player minigame as a team game, which is very uncommon in the new Mario Parties, but it was a revolutionary idea for the old ones. It didn't quite pan out, but I do still enjoy the game. I think Running of the Bulb, I could fairly put this one in B tier. Probably here. Yeah. Alright. Slot Car Derby. So I love Slot Car Derby. Slot Car Derby is interesting because you use the control stick instead of A to move, and you can go too fast if you're not careful. It'll spin you out. I love the settings for Slot Car Derby, and it's fun. And I think there are multiple different track designs, and you just have to be really careful with how you control your cart. But overall, I like Slot Car Derby, and that is definitely going to go probably up with Bobsled Run in A tier. I think it's a little better than Bobsled Run, but it's basically the same concept, except instead of a Mario Kart type view, it's like an overhead view, and that's a little different, but it's pretty cool. All right, the next one's Slot Machine. Again, that's a very simplistic concept, and it's not much better than Concentration. In fact, I think it's worse because you really don't have much control over it. So, Slot Machine goes straight into D tier. It's a very unoriginal idea, and frankly, it doesn't really go where. It's kind of boring. Teetering Towers. This one is annoying because the jumps have to be timed absolutely perfectly. You have to be on a certain side of a tower to determine what direction it goes in, and there have been too many times where I've hit this one short. I think the idea is fine, but the execution is not great. Probably gonna put this one in C tier, low C tier. I'm actually gonna move this one back into D tier because really it's not better than the minecart game. It's barely better than I'd put it here. Like I said, with the hammer, that doesn't add that much, but it's definitely not quite C tier now that I've moved all these around. You'll notice right now that a lot of the Mario Party 1 games so far are in D tier. They're not as creative, but there are still some gems, and you'll find as we go into the Mario Party 2 and Mario Party 3 tier lists, you'll find that the mini games get better over time. So don't fret that a lot of them are in D, although this next one is going in F. This is Tug of War, and this one has destroyed so many controllers that it's much worse than Pedal Power, because it's a 1 versus 3 and all 4 controllers have to do it, you know, and then the AI in this one is way too powerful, and just, man, this one is not one that I ever want to play if I can avoid it. Sometimes I'll also give up on this one just so I don't destroy my controller, but yeah, the feeling is real. All right, so this next one's a special minigame. It's basically the same as Bumper Balls, except it's a maze. It's about the same as Bumper Balls. You just have to go from one end to the other. It's pretty much the same, so I'll put it with Bumper Balls in B tier. I actually like this one a little better because then you don't have to worry about, you know, other people, and it's a little bit more strategy based. Just be careful. So I'll put it in B tier along with Bumper Balls. So this next game is also one of my favorite games from Mario Party 1. It actually returns in Mario Party 2 as Hexagon Heat. This one's called Mushroom Mix-Up. Toad has, and we love Toad, he has a flag that's a certain color, and you all have to run to the mushroom that has the correct color before they all sink into the water. This is a friendship breaker. This one is really, really crazy at some cases, especially when the mushrooms start going faster. This is a titular Mario Party minigame, and it's gonna go in S tier. Beautiful game. I love this one, and it just can get absolutely nuts after a while, especially when you're playing with all humans. All right, moving on. We've got Musical Mushroom, I think it's called. This is basically musical chairs. When the music stops, you try to jump on top of the mushroom and get the treasure chest or block or whatever that is on top. This is a 50-50 game. You're either in a good position to get up there or you're not when the music stops, and it really is a little bit luck-based where you wind up at the beginning. It's a nice concept, but it really is a little more luck-based than skill-based. So this one's going to go into C tier, but I think it deserves being... for being a good concept, I'll put it relatively high in C tier. Alright, I think this next one's called River... or Battle, or River Battle, or something like that. River Rapids, something like that. Where it's a 1 versus 3 game where you got 1 player with an oar and 3 players on the right side with an oar, and you basically have to push the boat towards the side so that the people lose coins. I don't know. I was never a fan of this one. I think this one also has rotating controls as well, so I just never really got off the ground with this one, but it's not terrible. I'm gonna put it in D tier. Alright, Pipe Maze is, unless you have ridiculous eyes and can follow everything, it's a 1 versus 3 game that should really be a 1-player game. And it just adds the possibility of other people getting it. It's not really anything special at all. Again, this is probably going to go into D tier. I'll even put it right in between Concentration and Slot Machine. So yeah, a lot of D tier minigames for Mario Party, but hopefully these last ones get a little bit better, and looking at them, I think some of them are pretty good. So moving forward, this next one is, there's 3 players on top of a cloud, and they have to ground pound the cloud to water the piranha plant, and then there's a skateboarding 1 player who has to escape and jump over obstacles. It's okay. I'm not sure really if the 3 players really can do much, but the skill for the 1 player is actually pretty high, so it's not always guaranteed they're going to win. I think that this one is average at best, and I'm going to put it into C tier. Probably between Bowled Over and a Nut Block Tower, I think. So, alright, so let me talk about Platform Peril for a minute. Platform Peril, I am really bad at. But does it mean it's a bad game? No. The timing on the jumps is annoying for me, but I think a lot of people actually enjoy this game. It's a basic jump to the platform, dodge the slanted edges, and collect the coins game. I probably would put this lower down, but I think it's fair that Platform Peril goes into like low B tier because it's still an enjoyable game. It's just I suck at it. So it's very similar in many respects to Running of the Bulb. So I guess we'll put it near there. But I do like Running of the Bulb a little better. But I think it's fair to put Platform Peril in B. I would put it lower as a personal choice, but as an overall minigame, we'll put it in B. Shell Game. So Shell Game is basically that game where you put 3 cups and there's something under a cup and you move the cups around. In this case, it's 4, so it makes it a little harder. It's not as bad as like the coin block or concentration games, but it's still a pretty basic concept. So Shell Game will go into C. I'll put it above Knock Block Tower because it's still a fun one-player game, but it's not anything terribly special. Shy Guy says, man, this one is a classic. It's basically the same as Mushroom Mix-Up, where Shy Guy will hold a letter, either an A or a B, and you have to press the button that corresponds to him. But later on, he'll start faking you out, and if you fail, you get cut, and see you later. This is one of the most fun 4-player games in there. I really enjoy this one. I think it's a little less, I think when it comes to like the execution, it's not as good as Mushroom Mix-Up, but it's still a really fun game, and I definitely want to put this one in A tier. This is a fun game. All right, Skateboard Scamper, another one of those games very similar to Platform Peril, where you have to jump, get coins. It's almost a carbon copy of Platform Peril, with the exception that you have to consistently press B. So it's got a little bit more intrigue to it, but it really is kind of similar. So I'm going to put it just above Platform Peril. Actually, I'll even put it above Running of the Bulb. No, actually, I won't. I like Running of the Bulb. So that'll go into B tier. I think it's a fine game with the added bonus of pressing B to go faster. And very similar to Platform Peril. Even with the angles, it is very similar. Tightrope Treachery. This one is interesting because the one player is on a very thin tightrope, but it feels like it's almost impossible to fall off, at least for me. I usually win as the one player. And then shooting angles of the 3 players is interesting. But even if you hit the character on the tightrope, it doesn't necessarily break anything. So I think Tightrope Treachery is a mid-game. I don't really have one opinion or the other, but it's okay. And I think with that, it will go into C tier. I still like it better than Knock Block Tower. Right, Tipsy Turny. Tipsy Turny is a favorite of mine. I really like the idea of this one where you're basically a Koopa Shell and you have to run around the board and have the Koopa Shell fill in squares. It's a lot strategy. It's a lot of, getting the characters in the right angles, and it's quite interesting. I really like this game, and this is one of my favorites from Mario Party 1, for sure. I'm going to put this in A tier. Probably in between Slot Car Derby and Bobsled Run. I think it definitely fits in there. I'm actually going to move Bobsled Run down one. I think Bombs Away is a little bit better. So the next one is basically the same as the diving game I talked about earlier, except this is a 4-player game. They're both going in the same spot. I don't see why I would put them in different spots. They are very similar. I would actually put this one a little higher because you have a little more control, because it's a 4-player game, but it's still get the treasure, get the diving, and avoid the enemies, basically. And then the last one is also the last 1-player game on here. This is Whack-A-Plant. It's basically Whack-A-Mole. I think for the AI, and this is a little bit too easy. I think this game's a little too easy, but it's still fun, hitting the piranha plants. I think this one's just, if you like games that are simpler and easier, this one's for you. I think this one will probably go into C tier. I don't see why I would put it anywhere else. I think it's a little better than Shell Game, actually. So we'll put it in C tier. And that is my tier list for Mario Party 1 minigames. You'll notice that a lot of the games are going into mid tiers. Like I said, Mario Party 1 is not my favorite Mario Party, but the minigames kind of started what we know today as Mario Party. It wasn't really great back then. It definitely had some struggles, but it was the first one. And you will notice when I do Mario Party 2 and 3 that the games definitely improved over time. This one was just a bit of a rough start for the Mario Party series, but there are still many, many gems like Facelift, Mushroom Mix-Up, Crazy Cutter, and Mario Bandstand, 4 of which I think are the classic Mario Party minigames. And then you got some other classics in A tier like Shy Guy Says and Slot Car Derby and Bombs Away, and I think Ghost Guess might be the best one-player minigame in any Mario Party, and there weren't many. I mean, there were some others, but this one was definitely one of my favorites. B tier, we got the Bumper Ball games and the Potaboo jumping and Handline and Sinker. These are just like pretty good games. Some of these I don't like personally, but I think they're still generally good games. C tier are just like the mid ones where there's always something good about it, but there's also something bad about it, or it can be very random. But the amount of D tier games and F tier games in this are a little bit high, considering that I still think Mario Party 1 is a classic. But there are just using the controls as like a rotation really brings those games down, and some of them are just basic games that didn't really have any kind of push or creativeness to it, like the Coin Block Blitz game and the Concentration game, the memory game. So these would definitely thrive over time, and Mario Party 2 would include some of the top games from this Mario Party, as well as some really fun new ones. So this was a good starting point for Mario Party, and Mario Party 2 would definitely take this and make it better. So stay tuned for my Mario Party 2 tier list when it comes out. For now, I'm OopDude44. Thanks for watching, and if you have any opinions on any of the games here, you can type it in the comment box, and if you really enjoyed the video, you can subscribe to my channel, OopDude44 on YouTube. Thanks, and have a good day.